Why do some men lose everything? Purpose, peace, power, the moment a woman walks into their life? Why do some women gain control while the man is left confused, weakened, and forgotten? In this video, we'll reveal the cold, unfiltered truth about the psychological game some women play and why most men never see it coming until it's too late. There is a brutal truth that men must face, a truth not taught in school, not spoken by society, and often realized only after deep loss. It is not a truth for the weak or the naive. It is a truth reserved for the man who is ready to see the world and himself without illusion. Power is not always taken by force. Sometimes it is offered willingly, by a man who mistakes desire for destiny. Some women, not all but some, have mastered the subtle art of emotional influence in ways most men never truly understand. They do not overpower you with direct commands or force. No, their strategy is far more elegant, far more dangerous. They use affection, or what seems like affection, as a tool, not because they love deeply, but because they know it gives them control. It's not about connection, it's about advantage. Picture this, a man, young, ambitious, driven. Let's call him Daniel. He had goals, real ones, a business he was building from scratch, waking up at 5 a.m., reading every night, disciplined, focused. And then came her. She was beautiful, sure, but more than that, she knew how to speak into his ambition. She praised him for his discipline. She told him how rare he was, how special. At first, it motivated him, or at least that's what he thought. But slowly, the language began to change. Why are you working so much? You always put your goals ahead of us. Do you even care about me anymore? Now listen, this isn't about vilifying her. This is about understanding the pattern. Daniel, like many men, mistook her affection as unconditional. But for her, that affection had a purpose, influence. The praise was never free, it was a leash. Soft at first, then tighter. The more he tried to please her, the more his purpose dimmed. One skipped gym session became 3. One late night working became a full weekend off. The discipline that built his identity, gone. And still, she wasn't satisfied. Why? Because it was never about support, it was about control. Affection, when given strategically, is not love, it's leverage. Now let's flip this for a second. Imagine someone saying, but isn't that what relationships are? Give and take, compromise. Sure, of course. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Not all compromise is equal, and not all affection is genuine. Some affection is a mirror, held up to show you what you want to see, not because it's real, but because it's effective. Some women know how to make a man feel powerful while slowly making him powerless. It's the smile that says, I believe in you, followed by the silence that punishes you when you don't choose her over your work. It's the tear that falls when you say no, turning your boundaries into weapons against yourself. It's the soft voice that whispers, you're everything to me, right before she asks you to change the very part of yourself that made you everything. This isn't about hating women, let's be clear. This is about seeing the game. Because when you can't see it, you become a piece on someone else's board. And here's where the danger truly lies. Men crave meaning. And when a man doesn't have his mission clear, he'll take a relationship and try to make it his mission. That's when affection becomes a drug. Every compliment, every kiss, every moment of intimacy, he doesn't just enjoy it, he needs it. He's no longer building for his vision, he's building for her validation. And the moment she withholds it, he falls apart. Now let's talk about power. Not physical, not political, emotional power. The ability to direct someone's decisions without saying a single word. Some women, knowingly or not, understand this power better than any strategist. They won't ask you to give up your purpose. They'll just say, I miss you, and let the guilt do the rest. They won't demand your focus. They'll just look hurt when you choose your passion and let your heart betray your discipline. You see, it's subtle, and that's why it works. It's not a war, it's erosion. Slow, quiet, deadly. Now imagine a man who doesn't fall for it. He hears the emotional pull, but doesn't bend. He sees the look, the tears, the silence, but he doesn't collapse. He stays grounded. Why? Because he knows what love isn't. He knows that love doesn't manipulate. It doesn't require you to abandon your path to prove you care. He knows that the woman meant for his life will walk with him, not ask him to stop walking altogether. Think of someone like Marcus, a quiet, self-made man. Nothing flashy, no need to prove anything. He met a woman who tried all the tricks. Subtle guilt, emotional distance, even public praise followed by private criticism. But Marcus didn't respond with anger. He responded with clarity. He didn't fight her emotions. He refused to be ruled by them. He told her once, "I love you, but I won't lose myself for you. If that's not enough, then I'm not the one." She left, he stayed steady, and guess what? He built an empire, quietly. Years later, she reached out, and he didn't reply. Not because he was bitter, because he had moved forward, alone, focused, free. A man like that understands this core truth. When affection becomes a tool of control, it must be treated as a threat, no matter how pretty it looks. Most men won't see it coming. They'll say, "She just wants more time with me," or "She's emotional," or "Maybe I'm being selfish." They won't see that the rope around their neck is made of roses, soft, sweet, and suffocating. Some women, not all, but some, use love the way a skilled hunter uses bait. Not because they hate you, but because it works. And unless you've trained your mind to see the strategy behind the sweetness, you will confuse submission with care. You will trade freedom for validation. You will call manipulation love and discipline coldness. And once you're caught in that trap, it's hard to get out. Because here's what no one tells you. It's not the breakup that breaks most men. It's the realization that they changed themselves for someone who never truly valued who they were in the first place. Think on that. When affection becomes a performance and love is used as a currency, you are not in a relationship, you're in a negotiation. And the cost? Everything that made you powerful. So, what's the answer? There's a quiet trap that so many men walk into without even realizing it. The need to feel validated by a woman. It doesn't start with weakness. In fact, it often starts with strength, or at least the illusion of it. A man is doing well, building, focused. He meets someone, she's beautiful, warm, attentive. She sees him, compliments him, tells him he's different, tells him he's rare. And at first, it feels incredible. But what he doesn't realize is that quietly, he begins to crave that feeling more than he craves his own direction. Her approval becomes a mirror he looks into to see if he's enough. Every word of encouragement, like a hit of dopamine. Every soft touch, a signal that he's okay, that he's still good, still wanted. But then, one day, maybe she's distant. Maybe she doesn't respond the same way. Maybe she looks disappointed when he doesn't do what she expected. And suddenly, without warning, he's off balance. He starts chasing her praise instead of chasing his mission, not because he loves her, but because her validation has replaced his inner compass. It's subtle, but it's devastating. Some men will adjust their entire behavior just to win back a smile. They'll ignore their instincts, suppress their boundaries, abandon their routines, all for the chance to hear, "I'm proud of you," or "You make me happy." But here's the hard truth. If your sense of worth is built on how a woman sees you, you've already lost control. You're no longer building your life, you're building an image she might accept. And it's not always malicious on her part, often she's just reacting, but that's not the point. The point is, you've given her the steering wheel to your emotions. Now think about it. How many men do you know, maybe even yourself, who went from being focused, confident, on track, to distracted, confused, and emotionally unstable, all because the woman they were with started acting differently? It happens all the time. And the reason it's so dangerous is because it doesn't feel like weakness at first. It feels like love, like care, like being a good man. But it's not care, it's addiction. Addiction to her opinion, her attention, her approval. And that's not love, that's dependency. A man must lead himself before he can ever hope to lead in a relationship. If he can't hold his center when she's upset, or stand his ground when she disapproves, he will slowly shape himself into whatever she desires and lose himself in the process. You might hear it in small things. I just want her to be happy, or if I do this, maybe she'll come around. These sentences sound harmless, even noble, but they're not. They're red flags. Because once your decisions are built on pleasing her rather than honoring yourself, you are no longer leading, you're following a moving target. And what happens when that target shifts? When her mood changes, when her interest fades, you're left broken. Not because she left, but because you bent everything around her to the point where nothing was left for yourself. The most dangerous thing a man can do is place his sense of self-worth in the hands of someone else. Because here's the truth, when a woman senses that you need her approval to function, to feel strong, to feel man enough, something shifts. She doesn't feel safe, she feels responsible. She doesn't admire you, she starts to control you, even if unintentionally. And once that dynamic sets in, it's hard to recover. You become the man who's always adjusting, always explaining, always hoping that what you're doing is enough. You become emotionally dependent, and she, whether she admits it or not, loses respect. Not because she's cruel, but because the very nature of respect requires independence. And when you trade that for closeness, you think you're getting love, but you're only getting tolerated. There's a different way, but it starts with recognizing the need for validation and tearing it out at the root. Not by becoming cold, not by rejecting women or intimacy, but by anchoring yourself so deeply in your mission, your values, your self-respect, that no one else's opinion can shake you off course. Love, when offered too easily, can be a mask. A beautifully crafted disguise that hides intention beneath sweetness. Not all love, no, but some. And the kind we're talking about doesn't arrive with truth and depth. It arrives with speed, with a kind of intensity that feels more like a fire than a foundation. It comes fast, hot, and all-consuming. She says all the right things. You're everything I've been looking for. No one's ever made me feel like this. I've never met someone like you, and maybe she means it in the moment, but moments lie when they move too fast. Because here's the reality. Genuine love takes time. Time to understand, time to test, time to see someone not just at their best, but at their worst. In pressure, in boredom, in conflict. That kind of love doesn't rush in with fireworks. It builds like a storm, slowly, surely, quietly. So when affection is handed out like candy, immediately, freely, without any earned trust, a wise man pauses. Why? Because he understands something most men ignore, that not all praise is admiration. Sometimes it's strategy. Sometimes a woman will use love the way a skilled negotiator uses charm to soften the target, to lower defenses, to create emotional credit before the cost is revealed. A man desperate for connection or unfamiliar with his own value will eat it up. He'll say, "She really sees me." He'll believe her words because they echo the things he's longed to hear, and slowly, without realizing it, he'll start changing, not because he wants to, but because the illusion of being accepted feels so powerful. Maybe I'll stop going out with the guys as much. She doesn't like when I work late. Maybe I'll pull back. She wants me to slow down. Maybe she's right. Piece by piece, the man erodes, and the love? It didn't require anything of him. Not his story, not his strength, not even his flaws. It was just given. Immediately, passionately, unquestioned. But here's the truth. When something is offered too easily, it's rarely rooted in depth. People, real people with real capacity for love, don't just hand it out to strangers. They observe, they assess, they learn. So when a woman says she loves you before she's even seen who you are under pressure, ask yourself, who is she really loving? You? Or the idea of you? Or worse, what you can do for her? You'll see it in the patterns. The I love you come early, but so do the demands. The mood swings, the emotional pressure. If you love me, you wouldn't do that. I just feel like you don't care as much as I do. I need more from you. What started as effortless affection becomes a system of control, not with anger, not with screaming, but but with guilt, with silence, with tears, at just the right moment. And if you question it, she'll say, you're just afraid of love. Or worse, you don't know how to let someone in. But maybe you do know. Maybe you've just learned to watch for the signs. Because love that appears too quickly isn't always love. Sometimes it's leverage, emotional credit meant to be used, cashed in when she wants something. Your time, your focus, your decisions. She might not even be aware she's doing it. That's the thing. This isn't always manipulation from a place of evil. It can come from fear, insecurity, control. But none of that changes what it does to you if you don't recognize it for what it is. The man who understands this doesn't reject affection. He just doesn't worship it. He takes his time. He listens more than he falls. He watches for alignment, not just excitement. And most importantly, he doesn't mistake being wanted for being valued. Because when someone truly values you, they don't rush to possess you. They take the time to understand you. They don't love loudly right away. They love consistently over time. And they don't praise you as a tactic. They honor you as a partner. A man's strength, real strength, doesn't come from how loud he can speak, how hard he can hit, or even how much money he makes. It comes from something far quieter, far more difficult to master: emotional discipline. The ability to feel everything and still remain in control. The ability to be in the middle of chaos, rejection, temptation, manipulation, and not lose yourself in it. That's where the difference is made. Most men have no idea how powerful they could be if they just stopped reacting to everything. She raises her voice, he gets defensive. She goes silent, he chases. She flirts with another guy, he explodes. She threatens to leave, he begs her to stay. All of it, reaction, reaction, reaction. And every time you react without control, you give something away. You give her power over your emotions, over your decisions, over your direction. And the worst part, most of the time, she's not even doing it consciously. She's just testing the ground, testing your emotional balance, testing whether you can stand firm or whether you'll trip over every feeling she throws at you. Emotional discipline doesn't mean shutting down. It doesn't mean becoming cold or numb or heartless. It means feeling everything, yes? The love, the anger, the pain, the fear, but choosing not to let it dictate your behavior. That's strength, that's leadership. Think about it, how many arguments between couples are really about the issue itself, and how many are just reactions stacked on top of reactions? She says something sharp, he fires back. She cries, he gets frustrated. He pulls away, she panics. It's a cycle, and someone has to break it. That someone has to be you. Why? Because discipline in a man is not optional, it's essential. It's what makes you safe, not just for her, but for yourself. Because when a man can't control his emotions, he becomes a slave to them. And worse, he becomes easy to manipulate. Some women, not all, but some, can sense when a man is ruled by his feelings. They know exactly what strings to pull. A sigh, a glance, a tear at the right moment, and suddenly he's changing his plans, apologizing for things he didn't do, bending himself in ways he'll regret later. Not because she's stronger, but because he's undisciplined. You ever notice how some men completely lose themselves when they fall in love? They stop showing up for themselves, they skip the gym, they stop focusing on their goals, they lose their edge. Not because the woman asked them to, but because their emotions overran their priorities. They think that giving her everything, all their time, all their focus, all their energy, is the highest form of love. But love, real love, is never about losing yourself. It's about becoming more of who you are and sharing that person. A woman might admire your ambition at first, but if you throw it away for her, she'll lose respect. If you compromise every boundary just to keep the peace, she'll stop seeing you as a leader. If you give up your purpose just to make her happy, she'll walk away, wondering why she ever felt drawn to you in the first place. Because deep down, she's not looking for a man who gets swept up in emotion. She's looking for a man who can hold her emotion without collapsing under it. You have to be the anchor. That doesn't mean you don't feel, It means you don't drift. You stand when things shake. You speak calmly when voices rise. You make decisions from clarity, not from fear or desire or anger. You protect your emotional center the same way you'd protect your home. Because once you let just anyone in, without rules, without limits, everything inside becomes vulnerable. And yes, this takes work. You will fail at it sometimes. You will slip. You will react when you wish you hadn't. But the discipline isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about catching yourself, learning, getting stronger each time you choose calm over chaos, silence over shouting, purpose over pressure. So now you see it clearly without the fog of fantasy or the noise of emotion. Some women, not all, but some, don't come into your life to love you. They come to study you, shape you, and when allowed to control you. And most men, they never notice, because the game doesn't look like war. It looks like warmth. It sounds like love, it feels like connection, but only until it doesn't. If you don't have emotional discipline, if you seek validation instead of purpose, if you trade your mission for her mood, you will lose every time. But if you learn to lead yourself, to see through charm, to pause before reacting, to stand in silence while chaos swirls, then you become unshakable. You become the kind of man no one can move unless you choose to move. You stop chasing approval and start attracting respect. You stop folding under pressure and start commanding your path. The truth is dark. It's uncomfortable. It's not what most want to hear. But the men who face it, they rise. So ask yourself, do you want to feel good for a moment or be powerful for a lifetime? The man who leads himself cannot be led by another. Protect your mind, guard your purpose, and never trade your crown for a smile.